All right, my man. Well, as I mentioned at the top, I was in the barber shop the other day, and the my barber Coy was telling me that they recently had started this kind of new exercise of taking the year that they were born, looking at, and then playing on Spotify the top Billboard hits from that year. So I asked Caleb to just kind of look at his top 100. I did the same. I'm from 82. Caleb's 85, and we're just going to kind of talk about a couple of the songs from the years that we were born that we, like, dislike, just kind of whatever you think about it. And first of all, when you were looking over the list of top songs from 85, what is your kind of overall impression of it?
Is a stellar year for music.
It's so funny, man. I'm always looking for patterns, whether I do it intentionally or unintentionally. But number one was Careless Whisper by Wham / George Michael. You and I talked about Careless Whisper just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's what was number one. So you're doing the 85 first?
Yeah. Let's talk about yours. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was my number one thing that I noticed, because I was like, are you kidding me? This is the third mention to Careless Whisper.
Oh, it is because of the sax player.
My facial hair, the sax player, and now this.
Nice.
So that was the number one on the list. Also, number one for the year of 85.
Yeah.
Which is insane, because I knew that song was big. I don't think I realized how big that song was.
It's a very good song, I think.
It's an excellent song. I went back and watched the video this morning, and with today's modern sensibilities, it's almost comical that we did not know that George Michael was gay.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like watching that, I'm like, really? This is like the worst kept secret I've ever fucking seen. Yeah.
Man, 85 is stacked, dude.
Dude, number two, I threw it on there, even though I don't necessarily like the song, just because it is such classic. Was number two was Like a Virgin. And then one of my favorite songs was my number three choice, was Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Came in at number 7.
Such a great song. One of my favorite songs.
Any Tears for Fears song is just phenomenal. Which they're on this list a bunch.
Curious, did you ever watch Dennis Miller on HBO back in the day? Are you aware of it?
I love Dennis Miller.
That was the opening intro for every one of his episodes was Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
Really? I didn't remember that.
Yeah, it starts off, he's like breaking pool balls, and one of them's the globe, and it's playing the song. Yeah, I've always thought that song is just so excellent.
The one that, and then probably my favorite song, though, maybe, there's so many, maybe my favorite song in this entire list is Take Me On by Aha.
Oh, yeah, Take On Me.
Take On Me, yeah.
So
Take
good.
On Me. Such a good song. And one of the best music videos of all time.
As I'm looking at this, like 85 was a really good year for music. So like, do you feel like this is music that is it music that you grew up listening to?
So a lot of this stuff wasn't stuff that I really got into until my teen years, when I really got into like 80s synth and new wave and stuff, and which I still think is a phenomenal genre that is just next level. It wasn't until that. Now there's certain things on this list that I did hear, like Born in the USA was something that came in at number 92 on the list, something I definitely heard. And We Are the World, of course, was next level, huge. The USA for Africa, charity event. And then a lot of this stuff, though, Smooth Operator is one of the few ones that I can say I legitimately listened to as a kid. My mom listened to that and Careless Whisper constantly.
Such good songs. All right, what else? What else is on your mind? I'm looking right here. You got St. Elmo's Fire from St. Elmo's Fire. That's a good one.
Another one, Don't You Forget About Me by Simple Minds.
Another great John Hughes movie soundtrack.
And that's my whole reason I love that song is because of the film.
Yeah.
Because of Breakfast Club. And now the one that cracked me up was the Miami Vice theme made it up to number 27 on the year.
I don't know what that is.
It's literally just a techno-ish synth track. There's no lyrics, nothing.
I'll have to listen to that because I'm not familiar.
It's not particularly great in my opinion, but it just showed that show was to where that shot up to number 27, this synth track.
I think the Herbie Hancock theme from Beverly Hills Cop got pretty big as well.
Oh, that's an amazing thing. There was also the Pointer Sisters song from the Beverly Hills Cop was on this list too.
Oh, nice.
Which funny side story. My brother, my older brother, he would always like get cold and his nipples would get hard when we were kids. So I always called them the Pointer Sisters. Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves came in at number 75.
Yeah.
Now all I can think of is Futurama. And that's probably the most of the list. But overall, I was just unbelievably impressed with the quality of music. But that being said, you know, it might just be nostalgia, you know, that makes me think it's such a great year.
Shout, Tears for Fear, number 21. Yeah, excellent song. Let's see what other ones kind of jumped out to me. I like the Starship song, We Built This City on Rock and Roll.
Yep. We built this city.
Yeah, it's a good one. So many. Yeah, this is actually a really good year. Sussudio by Phil Collins. What other ones do I want to touch on before
My House by what's the name of the people who did My House? In Our House. That one.
Oh yeah. Oh God, I don't know. Our House. In the middle of our street. One that I actually cover that I really like.
No, not that one. The In My House. That one. What the hell is
I don't know if I know it. Oh, We Don't Need Another Hero from Thunderdome, Tina Turner. That's a good one. Oh,
yeah, I was going to say that too.
Boys of Summer, though. Don Henley's Boys of Summer. That's actually a really good song. I learned that one on guitar a couple years back.
California Girls by David Lee Roth.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
There's like literally all of these are there's very few on here that I'm not that familiar with.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's the year we were born, obviously. We're too young to have been listening
Mary Jane
to
Girls, In My House. In My House.
Dun, 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 yeah. Private Dancer. Yeah, it's weird, like you said about nostalgia, but I think that's what, like, I think music is so potent because it kind of puts us in a time and a place. And, you know, about nostalgia is like, it was, we idealize a time that we had less responsibilities. I think like the simpler life was, the more fondly we remember it. So these songs from our youth, they tend to really resonate. And then the fact that they're top 100 Billboard songs, we've been exposed to them ever since then. And it's like, it's later on in life, obviously, that you're going to realize, because you're not listening to music the first year of your life, you know, but it's just like cool to go back and be like, oh, wow, all these songs that I recognize are from that particular year. So I think so far, I think I got to give the edge to 85 as far as being the better year.
Crazy stacked year.
Top Billboard 1982. 1982 was quite a transitional time. There absolutely is. I think the difference, like 85 was full swing in the 80s. 82, we were still kind of had one foot in the late 70s, one foot in the early 80s. So there was like, it was just now getting into a lot of the new wave that was completely in full swing in 85. But let me see. I actually wrote down a couple, and these are in no particular order.
There's literally one of my favorite songs of all time came out this year. I didn't realize.
Is it Get Down on It?
No, it's what's it called? Let me go back to the name. I just scrolled past it. It is. Oh man, now where'd it go? I cannot think of the name of the band. It's Sweet Dreams is another one. That's by Air Supply. I didn't realize that's a great song.
Oh yeah, for sure. Actually, I don't know that I know that one. I think you're thinking of the Eurythmics as well. That's what my first thought was, the Annie Lennox Sweet Dreams. That's what I was thinking of. That isn't. So do you know Get Down on It by Kool and the Gang?
Yeah.
That shit is the jam, dude. Such a good song. Don't Stop Believing by Journey, obviously classic.
Oh, that's one of my favorite songs.
It had such a big resurgence, I think, thanks to the show Glee, but it is just such a part of like the cultural lexicon. I think that Journey is like one of those really good bands that at the time it was cool not to like Journey, but they're just such great songwriters.
I put Journey up there with like Queen for me.
Oh damn, yeah, dude, for sure. Yeah,
that Journey's next level.
Very good. Ran So Far Away by Flock of Seagulls. That's a really good one. I put as much new wave on here as I could. There just wasn't
Soft Cell. Here's one of my favorite songs. Soft Cell, Tainted Love.
Oh, dude, you know that shit's on my list. That's a great one. That's a great one. Shake It Up by The Cars.
That's a good song.
I like that one a lot. The Cars were a pretty cool band. And then Weezer really brought Toto back into the cultural zeitgeist with, they did a cover of Africa, which is obviously a great song, but I prefer Rosanna, which is also another really good Toto song that Weezer covers on their new album. I think it's called the Teal album. But yeah, I really like that song. I think there's just, music was so well written back in the 80s.
I agree.
And I think the 90s, like, while I like a lot of music from the 90s, I think the simplicity of the kind of 4-chord progressions and stuff that Kurt Cobain kind of popularized, it changed musicianship to where it kind of became more about a feeling than it did about like technical prowess. But and then I look at bands like Toto or like Journey, like Foreigner. I mean, there's a lot of bands that just like they were doing a lot of really cool like songwriter shit. You know, there's no like equivalent of Steve Winwood or Peter Gabriel nowadays. You know,
they are, but they're not on that level. You know what I mean? There's people out there doing crazy music, but they're not Billboard charts.
I'm trying to think like who would you say is a songwriter of today? That's tricky, isn't it?
There has to be one. There has to be someone out there that we're overlooking that's just doing incredible work.
We'll have to
Eye of the Tiger is also on here.
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah, for sure. I want to say it was like number 1, if I'm not mistaken.
Number 2 is Physical by Olivia Newton-John. I did not realize that song was that big.
I didn't either. It's an all right song. I'm not wild about it. Eye of the Tiger, though, is definitely a good one. I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. That's a fucking awesome song. Yeah. Centerfold's a good song. Don't You Want Me, Baby. That's another good one. Jack and Diane, Hurt So Good. John Cougar Mellencamp, another great songwriter.
Great.
I think Hurt So Good I prefer out of the two of them, but they're both really good. Abracadabra. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on here. A lot of it is either
Fever.
like, what is it?
Pac-Man Fever.
I don't know what that is. Do you?
You've never heard Pac-Man Fever? Oh, we're going to have to look at it after this.
Maybe I haven't. I just don't know. But I ran across it on the list and was like, man, that sounds familiar. Yeah. But it's interesting because a lot of these songs are like what you would hear on the classic rock radio station. And then the other half of them are like early MTV stuff. Yeah, so it kind of feels like it's got its foot in two worlds.
Yeah, I feel like your list is definitely more interesting. I feel like as far as the overall list, I like 85 better, but I feel yours is a lot more interesting because it is in this weird transition stage where you can see kind of the turning of the old guard into this newer synth, new wave into the 80s.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about it before. I think we kind of are on opposite ends of the spectrum about our relationship with nostalgia and stuff, but I really feel like the aesthetic, the sound, the style, like everything from the 80s is just better to me for some reason. I don't know what that really says about me. Maybe I'm in Arrested Development, but I love the way that I remember the 80s. And I also am 100% aware that it's not what the 80s was. It's just the way that I remember it, you know?
It's funny because a lot of the reason I think I like 85 music so much is not necessarily because of the music, is being such a film buff. A lot of that music was used in cinema. So I think that's kind of where my emotional attachment to it comes from.
You know, that's a really good point. And I think like that really even just reinforces it to that time and the place in our minds or whatever. And there's a lot of on 1985 that were attached to the John Hughes movies. What I didn't realize until I was looking at 82 is that the Evangelists, the people who scored the original Blade Runner are the ones that wrote Chariots of Fire. Chariots of Fire is the instrumental song for the torch carrying in the Olympics. Dun, 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 dun,
I had no idea that was a thing.
I thought that Chariots of Fire, in my mind, that song just existed forever. I don't know why I thought that, like that. Me it was too. Older than that, like almost like classical music. And then when I was like, oh, wow, that's the people that did the Blade Runner score, it actually made me appreciate the song a little more.
Ebony and Ivory is also on 82.
Yeah, a little Stevie Wonder and who was the other?
Paul McCartney.
Oh, yeah, right? yeah. Duh. Yeah. Oh, dude, Stevie Nicks, Edge of 17, just at the very, very bottom of the list, number 100. That's a really good song.
On both of our lists, some of the more interesting stuff is toward the bottom, you know?
Yeah, like, I would imagine if we looked at the top 500, we'd have probably found even more songs that we liked. Obviously, no shit, but I think some of the better ones, like you said, would be not all the way up at the top. Like Olivia Newton-John's Physical compared to Edge of 17, I think the list is backwards, if that's the case, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Like, even Empty Garden by Elton John, that's like a solid song.
I didn't realize that Joan Jett and the Blackhearts' Crimson and Clover cover was as big as it was.
No, there's a lot of stuff that, like, I didn't realize that they were, which makes sense. I guess if we're still celebrating, they had to have been huge pop successes, but there's songs that by today's standard would not really be pop hits. So in my head, they're not pop hits, even though they were at the time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Little Huey Lewis in the News. Do you believe in love?
This is amazing.
Definitely, man. I'm real Patrick Bateman when it comes to Huey Lewis in the News. Good. Did some of my best murdering to Huey Lewis.
That's what you always listen to.
Yeah, well, guys, check it out. Look up the year you were born. Top 100 Billboard hits, and leave your favorites down in the comment section. I would love to hear some of the movie or some of the songs that you kind of that meant a lot to you growing up. You can leave your top 10. They don't have to be in any order or anything like that, but just join the conversation, get in on it. I highly recommend that you go ahead and find the playlist on Spotify and just check it out. It'll probably take you on a pretty cool trip down memory lane. Not the most topical, but it's a good mix of stuff. I think you nailed it with the Face app. That's the one that I was real interested to hear your perspective on.
Yeah, I feel like we both landed pretty similar. Like, we understand the concerns, but it's overblown.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. And on that note as well, let us know what you think about any of these conversations down in the comment section below. And thank you again, and as always, for coming by to check out the content. We really do appreciate it. It means a lot. We're trying to get our subscriber count up. So if you want to help us out, all you got to do is share the podcast, you guys. It'll help us grow the brand and all that kind of good stuff. And if you want to stay up to date with all of our content and you're not already subscribed, then all you got to do is click the bell. You like how I picked up the guitar for a prop and didn't actually play it?
Yeah, I can't see anything. I just heard noise.
Yeah, I was gonna play, and then I